Welcome to my YouTube channel, Manamini Nalumi Mental Health with Anne. Today, in the Real Life Hero section, I have with me Quentin Pipestem, a very special guest. He is an indigenous hope dancer who has won several awards around the world for his amazing art. Join me in conversation with Quentin Pipestem to understand his path and his journey so far. மனமேனி நலமே நேர்களுக்கு வணக்கம். எல்லாரும் ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கீங்கன்னு நம்புகிறேங்க. என் கூட நம்ம ரியல் லைஃப் ஹீரோ செக்ஷனில் இருக்கிறவர் பேர் குவென்டின் பைப்ஸ்டம். இவர் ஒரு இண்டிஜினஸ் ஹூப் டான்சர். இவரோட கலை உலகம் ஃபுல்லாக இவருக்கு பல அவார்ட்ஸை வாங்கி கொடுத்துருக்கு. வாங்க இவர் கூட பேசி அவரோட வாழ்க்கை பயணத்தை பற்றி நம்ம தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம். Quentin, I'm hearing a lot of positivity when you're talking, which gives me hope in terms of truth and reconciliation. Am I hearing that correct? Would you mind elaborating a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that truth and reconciliation is important for, our societies to understand each other and to be able to live together in as equals. And I believe, like I mentioned before, just that respect for one another and an understanding of one's own, histories and the history that we are, for our people, that, if it's understood of where, not just like in the boarding schools, but even just our old way of life, being, like I say, the traditional, believe in our traditional ways, even like alcoholism was something that was not just from the boarding schools, it goes back even before then, when when we lost our old way of life, our warriors lost this honor system where they strove for this honor, excuse me, and that way of life, that's where alcoholism started. And that understanding that, how far back it goes to that, to where, yes, alcoholism was like they called Fort Indians, and even before the missionary schools happened, we had this problem. And then it was the missionary schools that took advantage of this problem, and then even that's what destroyed the whole, culture and the whole way of life. So just trying to understand where we've gone through, and that how, we've the resilience and how strong our people have, what we've had to do to save our culture, what we had to do to save our culture. And it's not there yet. I'm not saying we're like, we're healed, and we still have a lot of work within our own selves. Each person, each nation, has its own, work to do still to this day. So, and then, understanding that, in hopes that that reconciliation aspect comes in, and the truth of, where we did come from. But I also don't want to dwell on, like, I'm not one to do, you have to heal. In order to heal, you have to forgive, not just, other people, but, as in like one of the steps in becoming sober is you have to, forgive yourself for the wrong things that you had done. Because if you hold on to those things, then that keeps you in that dark place. So part of that, is in order for this intergenerational trauma to be, to heal from that, we got to start, forgiving not only ourselves, but, everyone around us. And, so that's part of it. It's not just a one-sided thing, the truth and reconciliation. It's got to be on, both sides, the First Nations and the non-native people. So I do have hopes in this, for this. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. I really like the way you put it, Quentin. It's about forgiveness. It's about healing. It's about work happening on both sides. Yeah, I really like that.
Yes.
Quentin, in terms of society, right? Apart from for this reconciliation and this healing to happen, what would you say people who are not First Nations or Native, um, what are some things we can do to help with that healing process and breaking that trauma, that generational trauma?
Ah, for that, kind of, I've kind of touched on that already with
Mhm.
the with what I've mentioned in the past to do with understanding, trying to
Understanding,
do
creating that
understanding the history
yeah.
and the reasons behind, this um um the difficulties that our people go through, especially with addictions.
Yeah.
Um, it's just, yeah, and then there's the mutual respect, not this,
Mhm.
uh, looking down upon,
Mhm.
First Nations because of the stereotypical idea of being drunken and lazy, but look at them as equals, as as members of, in the society, normal society, and and part of that is, it's just the people in general, maybe the ones that do have these stereotypical views don't see us as equals, and they resentful because they believe, that we're taking tax monies and whatnot, and it's which is totally far from the truth because they're not educated to know anything about the laws and the treaty rights, and what so forth. So it's about educating themselves on maybe what their own stereotypical views are, and trying to uh, yeah, just become more understanding,
Yeah.
and yeah, just understanding, because for me, I don't want to be looked at as pitiful. So I don't want to be like, I don't want pity. I
Yeah.
want people looking in a pitiful way, oh, poor Indian. No, it should be like, oh wow, what a look at us as like a strong, vibrant, culture. And
Yeah.
that's, who I like to who I like to, how I like to present myself, show, especially through my dancing and where I come from. Yes, I came through, I had uh as like a lot of First Nations families have gone through this, with alcoholism and whatnot in the history. And but we've overcame that, and even personally, I overcame it. So, and I'm still here today. And this is like, an example of our culture in general, of what we've done. And there's a lot of First Nations out there that are doing the same thing. Not just me. There's many out there that are doing, you know, like are living the same path, are on the same path as I have, and some are even doing greater things. And there
Mhm.
are like we have doctors, lawyers, architects, and even some people that's worked on the space station. There's an astronauts. So all First Nations, and these are the things even our own people need to realize.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just that respect. That just basically is what I like to hope for.
Thank you
Mutual
so much.
mutual respect.
Yeah, mutual respect. Thank you so much, Quentin. I'm hearing you say first educate yourself, understand, and then have mutual respect and keep doing it. Right. And I think that is what everyone should start trying to do and not live in ignorance and darkness and assume. Um, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Quentin. Quentin, thank you so much for your time and for being with us today. It is really my hope that this interview will, in big or small ways, create some more awareness and break those barriers and biases and stereotypes. So thank you so much. Before we end, Quentin, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Any message that you would want to share?
Something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I've been told that it's something, you know, I'm I'm not one to, really talk about, my accomplishments and say I did this or I did that, but it has pointed out to me that a lot of young people, younger generations, they don't really know um my story. So part of like my story is also to be inspiring. And so I really hope that by me sharing, my thoughts and my story with you is a way to hopefully start, letting helping me express myself better. and especially to the younger generation, and that there is everyone has strength to change who they are, and that
Mm.
is something that I see that is difficult amongst our own people, that they don't believe that they can change. But I believe that inside each and every one of us, not just First Nations, but everybody, there is something there, and you just got to want to access it and believe that it's there. There's faith, of course. I have strong spiritual faith in our traditions, but there's more of like the inner strength,
Mm.
and that is what I hope to be able to help people, especially the ones that are maybe lost in their ways. That there is, no matter how much trauma you went through in your life, there is ways to heal yourself, and you do have that inner strength, and it is there, and you just got to be able to want to tap into it, and that's what I believe will help a lot of people. And I've seen that with people that have struggled, not only through myself but other people that's gone through addiction issues. They've really tapped into who their true self,
So,
and
yeah.
that once they do that, then it helps them with their with the rest of their life. And so I believe that's what I like to share, is that it is possible, you know find that inner strength in everybody. Everybody has that inner strength. You just gotta
Absolutely.
help themselves and tap into it. So
Yeah, thank you. That is so beautifully stated. And I think what you're also referring to is post-traumatic growth, which is very true and very possible. And as you said, it it goes back to reaching into yourself and tapping in and getting that strength out. So thank you so much, Quentin. Thank you for doing what you do. And I wish you all the health and well-being and happiness and joy to continue to do what you're doing in our communities.
I'd like to thank you for inviting me on with to this interview, and for the work that you are doing and trying to bring awareness to not only First Nations, but all the other work that you've done in the past. So I really appreciate it, and um, I am honored. So thank you.